All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Jonathan Ratartha. I work in the Office of University Relations here at Notre Dame, along with my colleagues in the Alumni Association. Thank you again for joining us tonight. The first of two Notre Dame Day webinars as we get you prepared. 33 days remaining until Notre Dame Day. I know for many of you joining us, this is your third year of activity with Notre Dame Day. Some of you are perhaps joining us for the first time, so we're going to try to give a very broad overview of the day, what you can expect, talk you through our website, which is similar to last year, but there's going to be a few changes, and we'll also have plenty of time to answer a lot of your questions. So this year we have our Zoom platform going. You'll be able to ask questions over the phone line or over the video line if you're using that. There's also a chat window, so you can send questions via the chat window as well, and we'll try and pick those up. So I have everybody on mute right now. Once we get through the presentation, then I'll offer some time at the end for questions. So thanks again for joining us. Please let me know if you have any trouble with the audio or video, and we'll try and work things out. We're also recording this, and we'll offer it online on the Proud to Be ND YouTube page shortly after the broadcast ends. So we'll get started. I'll open up the presentation, and we'll get rolling. Okay, so what is Notre Dame Day? It's a global celebration of all things Notre Dame to engage, inform, inspire our alumni, our parents, and our friends to support the university. This is the third year that we've had Notre Dame Day. Notre Dame Day, we're so proud. We were not the first giving day of its kind in higher education, but right now we are the largest giving day of its kind in higher education. Over 16,000 gifts last year, a tremendous outpouring by one of our obviously most loyal fan bases, alumni bases in the country. So thanks to all of you that have made gifts and voted in years past, and we look forward to another record-breaking year this year. For those of you that might be new to Notre Dame Day, what's it structured? What is it all about? It's really two main things. The first is an opportunity for your group scholarship to win a share of our $1 million challenge fund. So a handful of very generous benefactors have stepped forward, have put up this $1 million challenge fund, and have said, let the Notre Dame family do with it as they will with our giving and voting structure on Notre Dame Day. So we're so grateful for their participation. We're so grateful once again to be offering a $1 million challenge fund, and it's going to be up to you, the Notre Dame family, to give and vote for the things that are most important to you. The second element of Notre Dame Day, and this is what really makes Notre Dame Day the most unique event of its kind in higher education, is our 29-hour live broadcast from the LaFortune Student Center to tell some amazing stories about the impact of your generosity. We're going to hear from a ton of groups on campus, a ton of student performances like we have every year, the Glee Club, a lot of other groups, so you can see students performing. You'll get to hear from university administrators. You'll get to hear from athletic figures. We're going to have a bunch of special guests this year. We're going to be kicking off the broadcast at 6:42 p.m. on Sunday, April 24th. We're going to have Mike Golick is going to be on set with us at the beginning of the day on Sunday. We're going to have Ann Thompson with us at the beginning of the day on Sunday. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for the broadcast at 6:42 Eastern on Sunday, April 24th. That's also where you're going to be able to see the leaderboard for the first time for the giving and voting. So lots of reasons to tune into our live broadcast as well. The same website as last year, notredameday.nd.edu. Some highlights from last year. For those of you that may have missed the broadcast, let's see if this works. Maybe we'll get some audio. We had a great time last year. Once again, the largest giving day of its kind in the country now. We're looking forward to breaking a lot more records this year, and we're certainly grateful to all of you that made last year such a big success with Notre Dame Day back in 2015. Some success stories from our great friends, those of you out there in the Alumni Association that participated last year. There is significant money at stake from our $1 Million Challenge Fund for your club scholarships. The Notre Dame Club of Miami, Minnesota, Orange County, Lehigh Valley, Los Angeles, our Black Alumni Group, Hawaii, and New York all did tremendous last year. Hundreds of votes, thousands of dollars for your scholarship funds. Again, it doesn't matter what size club you are. There's clubs of all different sizes that put in a ton of effort. We're going to try and give you some great tips today on how you can make Notre Dame Day successful for your club. It really does not take much, and any club at all can be the big success story in 2016. What do we tell people to do on Notre Dame Day? The first thing we ask them to do is to think, what are the 5 areas that you love the most about Notre Dame? Maybe it was the residence hall you lived in. Hopefully for all of you, it's your local alumni club scholarship. Perhaps it was a student center, an academic group, a college or university. It could be the Center for Social Concerns. Think, what are those 5 areas that meant the most in your Notre Dame experience? We ask you to then make a $10 gift to the university, and you'll receive 5 votes. No matter what the size of the gift is, you will only receive 5 votes, and we ask for a $10 minimum. So whether it's $10 or $1,000, you're going to get 5 votes with that first gift. You then are going to be asked to cast those votes to distribute our $1 Million Challenge Fund to those 5 areas that you love the most at Notre Dame. You can cast all 5 votes for your club scholarship. You can cast 2 for your scholarship and 3 for the Center for Social Concerns, or 3 for the Center for Social Concerns and 2 for Dillon Hall. It's completely up to you. And we ask you to share. Social media is such a huge part of Notre Dame Day. We had over 2.2 million social media impressions last year. It's the marketing key for all of the groups that have had success on Notre Dame Day. Hands down, whether it's an alumni club, whether it's student groups, it's the ones that get out there early and often on social media that use the ND Day hashtag that directly correlates to success when it comes to getting gifts and votes. To give you an example for how I voted last year, I made my $10 Notre Dame Day gift to the Notre Dame Fund, and then I allocated my votes to Film, Television, and Theater, my old majors, the Center for Social Concerns, my local Notre Dame Club of St. Joe Valley, their scholarship, the rugby club, and men's soccer. So the way it worked out last year, the way the votes worked out is that each vote ended up being worth about $14.83, meaning a total vote impact of around $74, and a total Notre Dame Day impact from my own participation of $84.15. Now, what are the votes going to be worth this year? We're obviously anticipating more than 16,000 votes cast, or more than 16,000 gifts, excuse me. So we're hoping to keep things in the $10 to $15 per vote range is where we'd like to keep things. That gives you some sense of what the impact is of just one $10 gift. It can be amplified 5, 6, 7 times, depending how things work out on Notre Dame Day. Some steps for success, and we'll repeat a lot of these later on in the broadcast. The first is to read the Notre Dame Day Handbook and Style Guide. Now, I know those were communicated to many of the club leaders in an email from Dolly Duffy that was sent earlier last week. You can also visit that short URL to read the Notre Dame Day Handbook and Style Guide on your own. Now, it's a great asset. It contains some letters that you can use to send to your constituents. It contains an email signature you can use. It contains the Notre Dame Day logos, the colors and the correct color keys that you can use to create your own graphics and images. It's just a fantastic resource. I encourage you to go to the Style Guide page, download the handbook. We're going to upload some of our case studies and presentations onto it. Let it be a resource to you for everything you need in your Notre Dame Day marketing. We're then going to ask you to customize your area of interest's own Notre Dame Day page. Each club receives their own Notre Dame Day page that's automatically going to be set up for them. This is very similar to last year. Unlike last year, instead of us sending you credentials, we're going to ask you to email us to receive those credentials. We'll provide the email address for that later on, but it's going to be ndday@nd.edu. You'll have to email that address, and then with the name and email contact information for whoever's going to manage the page, and then we'll email you the information in return so you can log in and customize your own Notre Dame Day page for your club scholarship. Sharing news and video, I mean, proud to be ND on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. Obviously, the Alumni Association on Facebook and Twitter. Those are going to be invaluable resources for you to get Notre Dame Day news and to see content that you can then reshare. We're happy to offer you this content to reshare to your constituents. It's so that you don't have to come up with all the Notre Dame Day content yourself. You can rely on all the stuff that we're going to be sharing through Proud to be ND to help augment the work that you do on social media for Notre Dame Day. So by all means, make sure you're following Proud to be ND. We're going to be very, very heavy with the Notre Dame Day content in the next few weeks. We're going to ask you to engage your own constituents, use their networks via your own social pages. I know many of you have social media pages for your clubs, email websites, newsletter lists. Get all of those involved and engaged. Use those as much as you can in the lead up to Notre Dame Day. And we'll give some tips and some really great case studies coming up from clubs that had success using all of these platforms later on. And don't forget our hashtag ND Day. That way we here at Proud to be ND here on the Notre Dame Day team, we can see your content and then hopefully play it back during the broadcast, even further amplifying even last year, we did Notre Dame Day areas of interest of the day on Proud to be ND. We highlighted some of the great work that was happening out there. So make sure you use the hashtag. That's the best chance that we have of seeing it and helping to promote it through our channels. Finally, we're going to ask you to give and vote. Giving and voting this year starts 1 week before the broadcast. Starting April 18th, all AOIs will be eligible to receive gifts and votes from NotreDameDay.nd.edu. What we're going to do is hold the leaderboard, however, until the broadcast begins at 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time on April 24th. So as I said in the beginning, you're going to want to make sure you're there for the start of the broadcast. That is when the first leaderboards will become live. Finally, at the end of the day, make sure that you thank all of your constituents. Let them know how you performed. We're going to have the final results up as quickly as we can in terms of the rankings for all the Notre Dame clubs as well as the rest of the AOI. So make sure to thank your constituents. Let them know how you did. Let them know, the impact throughout the year of how your Notre Dame Day dollars are spent. And frankly, that's the best thing you can do to get votes this year for those of you that had success last year is talk about how the money you received last year was used. And that's the best way that you're going to be able to convince people to come on board once again for you. So the Notre Dame Day page, our homepage, NotreDameDay.nd.edu, very similar to last year, supports 3 key elements of Notre Dame Day. It's the place where you're going to go to give and vote. It's the place where you're going to go to watch the live broadcast. And it's the place where you're going to go to see your club scholarship page and to edit your own club scholarship page, which you can share with your constituents. The Notre Dame Day webpage, it's being completely rebuilt from last year. We have a new vendor on board. We have a lot of information that's going to be shared with you in the coming weeks about how the page works. It should be pretty similar functionality to last year. I have my colleague Mark Naman joining us. He's our technical lead for Notre Dame Day. We're going to provide his contact information at the end of the broadcast. He's going to give us a little walkthrough of some of the website information now. So stand by while I change this from the PowerPoint over to a website. Okay, Mark, why don't you take it away and tell us what we're looking at here?
Great, thanks, Jonathan. Good evening, everybody. Really excited to launch a new site this year that should be simple for everybody to use in terms of engaging with the content, also placing your own custom content on your own pages. This piece of functionality isn't going to officially launch until next week, but we're going to walk you through it here tonight with some screenshots and some other things. We will give you my address, email address, so you can email questions once we get launched. As Jonathan mentioned earlier as well, please send an email with contact information of whoever you would like managing your page to ndday@nd.edu, and we'll start getting accounts set up this week. Signing up and logging in will be really simple. We will send you a login link that will have the ability for you to go in with your email already pre-populated in there once we've set your account up. Create a password, and you'll be good to go. This screenshot over here, which is going to be a little bit hard to see on this page right now, is basically the sign-up page. Really simple. All we need is you to set up a password, nothing more. Editing your campaign images and media. Basically, what we're talking about here is your ability to put in a custom logo and other media that you might find interesting or you might think people coming to your page would find interesting. So different than last year, and I'll show this a little bit further down, we are going to have a section for a logo, and then we're going to have a section where you can put images and video in a rotator, and it will rotate through each of them on a time basis. So going through the key things here, this is a shot of the platform you'll be using to edit these pages. I'm going to start with step one, which is changing your logo. Over here on the left where you see the Notre Dame Day logo, that will be the default logo on every page. So when you first come to edit your page, that'll be the logo you have there. You can click on the little camera icon right there, and it'll give you the opportunity to upload an image and make it whatever you think is most appropriate for your club. The recommended guidelines for that are 500 by 500 pixels in a JPEG or PNG format, and you should be able to do whatever you like with it. If you run into problems, we will be there along the way. You'll have my email address. You can always shoot me messages. If there's issues with the image uploading or other things happening, we'll be happy to help with that as we go through. The second step is to upload images and videos into the rotator. This will be a section a little further down the page where people can see pieces of content that you want them to see, whether it's pictures from some exciting club events you've had, custom videos you want to build for Notre Dame Day. We had a few clubs last year create their own videos specifically for Notre Dame Day. We had clubs create their own marketing campaigns with interesting images, some of them funny, some of them informational, whatever you see fit for your club. This is a section you'll be able to do that in. To upload images, where the 2 is here, in section 2, there's another camera icon. You can just click on that. It'll pull up a little pop-up. You can choose the image from your hard drive and load it in. If you'd like to include a video, you'd click here in section 3. It'll open up a URL box where you can just paste in your YouTube or Vimeo URL to load that video into the rotator. A few things to note about that. After you've uploaded your information, you're going to want to save. And there's a little save icon over here on the left that you can click on. There's also an eyeball there that's a preview icon. So once you've loaded these images, you can click on that and it will preview the page for you so you can see what it looks like. This is what the default page looks like right now. We have the opportunity for people, once they've landed on your page, to donate right from the top. When they do that, it will actually go in, allow them to make the gift, and then pre-populate your club into the voting options since they're coming from your page. And also to share. So your biggest fans, your members of your clubs, they click on share, it'll give them the option to share on social media that they are either voting for this for your club or to get others to vote for it. The slider here will just be a counter. We're actually swapping that out, so it's not going to a campaign goal. We don't actually have specific club goals, but it will show you how many votes you've gotten as you go through the day. This area also correlates to the previous. The number 1 here is going to be your logo image, and this will be the rotator where you can put videos or images that you like. As we get a little further down, this is where you'll have an opportunity to put in some text. And the importance of the text is to get those who land on your page interested in your club and why they should vote for you. We'll have an option for you to put in a short description. The second one here is donations are applied to. So what are the donations going to go towards? In the case of the clubs, we know all the clubs are getting donations to the club scholarships, so you can just put that in there. Why are donations necessary? And then a personal message. And to give you an idea of how that fits within the page, the personal message section here is correlated to right under the rotator. So you'll see there that that's where the personal message will be. That can be a message from your club president, from whoever you want, just thanking people for coming to your page or engaging in the way that you see fit. The other 3 sections all down here towards the bottom of the page, where there'll be a description where you can describe your club further, and the 2 sections on what donations are applied to and why are donations necessary. You'll also notice that there's another bar here that you might not be able to see as well because it's a little bit shrunken down, but this is a sharing area as well. And so you can share, someone can share directly to Facebook, create an email, share on Twitter, right from here. And you'll actually be able to see the counts this year, which is a new feature we didn't have last year, of the number of people that are sharing your content. So if people start going on and sharing on Facebook a lot, you'll be able to see that that's where the activities happen. And that's it. It's really just images that you want on there and a few lines of text here and there. You don't have to be lengthy. You can be if you'd like to be. And you're done. You'll hit save on this page and you'll be on your way. Again, we don't have all the specifics on how to do this yet. We can't walk you through it. That'll come out next week. We will send out a notice to everybody that signs up. And I'll be sending more details along with that since we don't have the site live quite yet. And back to you, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you, Mark. You know, I think this is great, the website this year. If you guys have questions, we'll definitely take them towards the end of our presentation today. We are also going to have a second webinar, as we did last year, a noontime Eastern webinar on April 12th. And we encourage all of you to come back. If you have remaining questions about the website, we'll obviously be well on our way up and running at that point. So you can feel free to join us again on April 12th if you have additional website questions. And we'll provide Mark's email address, contact information at the end of this presentation. You know, I think the biggest thing to know about Notre Dame Day and about the pages is I always get asked every year, you know, should I put more effort into the social media or more effort into my Notre Dame Day page? And every time we tell them, put the effort into the into your social media efforts so that you can get them to the page. You don't have to put as much effort into the page itself. The page really should be, if they've come to your page, they're probably going to go ahead and make that gift and vote for your group. Put that effort into your social media work because that's what's going to really drive people to really consider you guys for Notre Dame Day. They're hearing from a lot of other AOIs via email, via social media. So focus your time on that. You don't have to focus as much on the webpage. It's just so that people know that you're there. I can give you a lot of, you can give pertinent information, great photos and whatnot, but focus more on the social media stuff along the way. So if you have other questions, we'll, again, take some towards the end of our presentation today. Let's get back into our slideshow. So speaking of social, what are the best ways that you're able to market on social media? Clearly you have your own social media pages that your club has. Perhaps your club has a Facebook page, a Twitter page, Instagram. Maybe it has all three. That's the place to start. That's where you know people are listening to you right now. You also have, you as an individual, your own personal social media pages. You have your networks that you engage with on social media through your own personal Facebook and Twitter pages. Use that as a sounding board to amplify some of the stuff that's happening on your club's page. Finally, rely on our university social pages, particularly Proud to be ND and the Alumni Association. As I mentioned, we're going to be sharing a ton of content in the run-up to Notre Dame Day, and you can feel free to share and retweet all of that content to your constituents as well. Some tactics we certainly encourage, use that hashtag. I serve as the social media producer for Notre Dame Day. At the end of every hour, we have 10 minutes at the end of every hour, we go to the social media lounge where we highlight some of the great stuff that's happening on social media. If you use that hashtag, I'll be able to see it. We'll be able to put it on the broadcast. So make sure that you use that hashtag. Make sure to share the stuff that we're putting out on Proud to be ND. Make sure to share your Notre Dame Day page through social media. And I think that this year's website has a bunch of amazing tools to share your web page. Share photos and videos. That's always going to drive a lot of traffic on social media. Text is great. Photos are better. Videos are the best. And they don't need to be professionally managed. All you can do is take an iPhone and shoot a video. And I promise you, you're going to see really great engagement with that and a lot of attention from your viewers. So don't be intimidated by photos and video. It can be as organic looking as you like. And it's going to drive a lot of attention to your page in the run up to Notre Dame Day. Tell your story. That's the best thing we encourage people to do. If you made some money last year, how did you use it? Tell us about the students maybe that benefited from it. If you didn't, how would you use it this year? Do you want to add another scholarship recipient? Do you guys have special needs in terms of how the money's allocated each year? Tell your story. You guys know your audience best. You guys know your story best. And that's how we know you're going to convince people to choose you as an AOI. Along with all the rest of the over 800 areas of interest that you can vote for this year. Finally, encourage that giving and voting starting April 18th, but definitely through our 29-hour broadcast on April 24th and 25th. A couple great case studies that we want to highlight, and I know we have some representatives of these clubs joining us today, so thank you again so much for all the effort that you've put in last year to Notre Dame Day as well as this year. We'll start with Orange County. They were very aggressive in the email space using their newsletter audience to drive the Notre Dame Day message. they really frame, and this is how we encourage a lot of clubs to and groups on campus to frame things, is when you're thinking about email, you're thinking about social media, think of 3 separate time periods. That kind of breaks things up, makes it a little bit less intimidating. You got to think of the 1 month out strategy, the 1 week out strategy, and the day of strategy. So a month out, the Notre Dame Club of Orange County, they put out an email similar to what you see on the right-hand side there. It used some great graphics that the Alumni Association put together and will be sharing again this year, so stay tuned to your email box for that. The email was simply, hey, it's coming. 1 week out, the message was, get ready, we're less than a week away. This year, of course, the 1 week out message can be start giving and voting, because giving and voting is going to open on April 18th. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about your 1 week out strategy. Finally, your day of strategy. You got to be out there. There's going to be a ton of noise. Like I said, 2.2 million social impressions last year. You got to make sure you have a strategy to engage people on the Sunday and Monday, April 24th and 25th. And the Club of Orange County sent out 2 emails on Notre Dame Day last year, and they did an amazing job, as you saw in the results earlier. So thanks to Orange County for providing one of our case studies. Also, thanks to the Notre Dame Club of Los Angeles. I know we highlighted this on the broadcast in the social media lounge, as you can see in the bottom picture there. They had such a creative campaign. They chose a theme, and that was what was the real killer app for them, was this idea of Trojan A's, a way to ward off Trojans in the Los Angeles area by giving and voting for the Notre Dame Club of Los Angeles scholarship. This was one of the most creative things that we saw in all of the campaigns last year. They chose that theme. They hammered it home. They established a clear timeline. So they did the 1 week out, or the 1 month out, 1 week out, 1 day out strategy. They communicated that to their constituents, and they kept hammering the dates and the times home. They used the Notre Dame Day hashtag for sure. They engaged their board members, which is really interesting. Those are some of your best advocates. Those are some of the people that you want that have some of the largest networks, certainly, of Notre Dame people. So engaging the board members, convincing them of the importance of it, that's the way hopefully you can get resources passed your way as well for this. So definitely work on engaging those board members and explain the giving and voting. Last year we put out a video from our office that we shared about how to actually give and vote on the platform. We're probably going to do that again this year. Hopefully this year we have many, many more people that participated last year and understand it, but you're always going to get people that are new to the process. So by all means, make sure to explain exactly how people can give and vote for your scholarship. Walk them step by step through the process. Thanks again to the Notre Dame Club of Los Angeles for contributing to our case study here. It was also made available in the email that you received from the Alumni Association earlier this week. Or last week, excuse me. Finally, Miami, I know we have my good friend Danny on the line here. We'll loop him in a little bit. I know he has a couple questions already teed up, but they did a video last year. We don't know how they got onto the floor of the basketball court. We're not going to ask those questions, but somehow they did, and you can see the results for yourself here.
Hi, I'm Danny Yannis, president of the Notre Dame Club of Miami. This Notre Dame Day on April 26th and 27th, our club needs your help. With your minimum $10 donation and your 5 votes directed to our club, you can help support Miami kids achieve their dream of coming to Notre Dame. Please donate and support. Go Irish.
Really outstanding work there, especially towards the end. They gave the website, they gave the hashtag, they gave the social media links. It really closes the marketing loop. Again, doesn't need to be nearly as polished or professional as that, but just a few minutes of effort into this can really attract a lot of attention. We featured it on the broadcast, got a lot of attention among the other clubs. So kudos to Miami. We know that, listen, they've come to play already. We made our Notre Dame Day announcement. We put up our first video on Proud to be ND on St. Patrick's Day, as we traditionally do. And within hours, the Notre Dame Club of Miami was out there on their social media pages promoting Notre Dame Day. So they're going to come to play again. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So certainly they've raised the bar for everyone in the alumni club space. So thanks again to Danny and the Notre Dame Club of Miami for being such great participants each year for Notre Dame Day. Finally, one of my favorites from last year, Southeast Virginia. Certainly not the biggest club in the country, but they did a great video too. They were out very early with this. Check it out. Fantastic work. Thanks again to Southeast Virginia and to all the clubs that made Notre Dame Day 2015 the largest event of its kind in higher education. Those are just a few examples. It really doesn't take much to get out there on social media. Many of you already have large constituencies on social that are just waiting to hear the message. So it's really up to you now. What are some next steps you can take starting today? Starting today, you can send an email to ndday@nd.edu. Tell us who's going to be in charge of your Notre Dame Day page and let us know their email address, and we'll respond with the login credentials for the Notre Dame Day page. So that's your first step, is to email ndday@nd.edu. Also, as I mentioned, please read that handbook and style guide. There was a link in the email that was sent last week. You can also use this short URL that you see on your screen right now. Begin planning your marketing strategy and sharing your stories. There's still tons of time. Really, it's many of our clubs have got out there very early with this messaging, but if you're out there with at least 2 weeks to spare, you're doing an amazing job. So by all means, you have tons of time to plan starting now. It's certainly something you can begin seeding in your email newsletters, at your club meetings for this month, and then really figure out a plan to how to drive things in the 2 weeks prior to Notre Dame Day. As I mentioned, we're going to have our second webinar on April 12th at noon Eastern Time. I'm going to send another calendar invite. I know you all received the calendar invite for this. I'm going to send another one for this second webinar sometime tomorrow. So for that, feel free to join us once again if you have new questions. As I mentioned, the giving and voting begins April 18th, and please join us for the broadcast and the first unveiling of the leaderboard starting at 6:42 p.m. on April 24th. If you have additional questions, here's our contact information. I'm going to leave this up for much of the remainder of our session today. Aaron Wall is our program director and is executive producer, so any really top-level questions, questions relating to how the money is spent, how the voting is spent, those kind of questions, please direct them to Aaron. Questions on the website, Mark's your guy. You just heard from him. Please don't hesitate to email him. If you have questions about social media and need some extra hints and tips, if you've done great stuff and say, hey, have you seen the great stuff we've done? Just feel free to email me and I'll get you in touch with the rest of our social media team, and we'll try and promote some of your stuff on Proud to Be and hopefully on the broadcast. I'm also a contact with the Alumni Association, along with Mike Brown, who I don't believe was able to join us on the call today. I didn't see him in the list of people that had joined, but Mike, if you're on the line, I apologize. I'll let you chime in once we unmute the microphones here. Also, I have Ellie and Ann here from the Alumni Association. They're joining me. They're going to be very open to hearing from you if you have questions. So we'll be able to provide their contact information as well. We're always so grateful for the full support of Dolly Duffy and the Alumni Association team each and every year for Notre Dame Day. So what I'm going to do now is, what's that, Mark?
There's a raised hand.
There's a raised hand. Okay, well, we can use that if people want.
Pull up the participant list.
Okay, so if you pull up the participant list, you click Manage Participants, you should be able to see a raise hand thing. Otherwise, I'm going to unmute everybody. So if you have questions, please, you can chime in now. What I want to start with is with Danny. So there's an echo on some of them here. That might be yours, Mark. You're off. A little bit of an echo. Let me see here. Well, I don't see raise hand on the Windows one. Really enough. Okay, I think we're in good shape now. So I know that, Joanne has raised her hand. Let's have Joanne. Hello. Can you hear us?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear
Good. How are
me?
you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I am well. Thanks for hosting this. So I am a new officer of one of the smaller clubs, but I used to years ago be an officer of a much larger club. So our club has a very interesting issue. And so I just kind of want to test the waters on this. Does the money necessarily have to go to the scholarship fund for the club, or can it go to support other community outreach efforts for the club?
So that's a great question. We have received that question before. Typically what we're doing is handling them kind of on an ad hoc basis. So if you email Aaron Wall, he's the one that's been fielding those requests. Email awall@nd.edu and mention that you're a club that has a question about where the votes are allocated, and he'll be able to answer that question. We have received that question before. It's a great question, and Aaron is the guy to talk to in that regard.
Okay, and the only reason I ask that is our club actually has an endowment that was very well funded and established quite a long time ago, and we don't have that many students from the area, so we are fortunate in that we are always able to meet the need of students in the area, which is fantastic.
Great question. That goes for everybody else listening as well. If you have questions about how the votes are allocated, and if you want it to go to something other than a scholarship, please email Aaron Wall. He's the one that has direct contact for making sure all the correct accounts are hooked up through Notre Dame Day voting. Danny, I know that you offered a question in advance, but I think you're on the line. So do you want to go ahead, Danny, from Miami? Okay, maybe he doesn't have audio ready to go, but I'll read his question out. Danny from Miami asks, would it be possible to receive real-time notifications on whoever votes for our club? I'd like to receive an email on who voted and how many votes they made. So the answer is yes, you will be provided that information, just not right away. We have an extensive auditing process that needs to take place with the voting after Notre Dame Day. It does take quite a while. We receive so many votes. I mean, 16,000 gifts, 5 votes a gift. We receive so many votes, and we have an extensive audit process that takes place. So while you won't be able to know personally who receives that information in real time, once the audit is complete, we'll be able to share some information on that front. So great question, Danny. Fantastic question. Jim now. Jim, hello, Jim.
Hey, how you doing? Listen, I got on late and had just no video for about the first 12 or 13 slides. My question, very basic, is there any way we can access the slides that you used in your presentation tonight?
You sure will. So what there is right now on the brand standard site, there is a PowerPoint deck that you can download that's very similar to what we've shown here. We're also going to post the video of this broadcast on Proud to BND's Facebook page and hopefully on the Alumni Association Facebook page within 24 hours as well. So that'll be 2 opportunities for you to get the download from what you missed.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Jim. Other questions out there? That's right. We do have chat stuff. More stuff on the chat. Okay. Oh, there was Danny. Okay, so Danny, hopefully I answered your question. Hey to Matt, my good friend Matt McCurdy. Good to see you. Orange County, thanks again. Les, hello Les.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Our club apparently has a window where we're given the opportunity to broadcast on one of our major club events in 2015. Will there be a separate broadcast to guide us, give us some heads up on that?
How do you mean, in terms of how to actually give and vote?
No, I'm under the impression that from, I think it's from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock Sunday night, we will be featured and interviewed by a moderator.
Got it. Yep.
That's a separate issue then?
It is. Yep. You'll hear from the broadcast team with more information about getting that set up as we get closer. Yep. We have a whole team that works on the broadcast, and they'll be in communication with you for that segment.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? We have a few more minutes. Thanks again to all of you for joining us. All right. Well, if you have additional questions, by all means, you can send them to the email address.
Yes.
Oh, is that somebody trying to chime in?
Dad's right here.
Okay. We've gone back to muting everybody. Thanks again so much to all of you for joining us. Thanks again for giving time out of your evening this evening. Thanks so much for all that you do for Notre Dame all year long. So much of the alumni base is so grateful and dependent on the work that you do as part of your clubs to offer this engagement year round. Hopefully we offer some value to your club with Notre Dame Day each year as another great point of engagement. That's really a huge goal of ours with Notre Dame Day, and we hope that we're delivering on that front. If you have additional questions, please reach out to the email addresses on your screen. Please join us again April 12th at noon if you have additional questions. Send us that email to ndday@nd.edu, and we can send your page login credentials. Otherwise, we'll see all of you starting with giving and voting on April 18th and starting live on NotreDameDay.nd.edu at 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, April 24th. Thanks again so much for joining us. We'll see you on Notre Dame Day, and go Irish, everyone.